Well, here we are again, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon, and welcome to the next in the series of the Rising Star Leadership Conversations webinars. I see lots of you have found the emoji buttons already. That's amazing. Keep emojiing. We love it. The hearts, the smiles, it's all positive energy. And I think everybody could be doing with a little bit of positive energy right now. Yep, I can see the numbers are climbing. Thank you again for joining us. As you all know, I'm sure by now, because you've heard my intro many times, Rising Star is our program that recognises the most talented young professionals across South Africa and gives them a platform to connect and rise. Grad Stars, I also see you here, the most employable students across the country. Thank you for joining us too. As you know, the main feature of the Leadership Conversation series is the huge, amazing leaders that generously offer their time to guide you and to give their advice and their learnings and their experiences. But also, it's the give back offer from these top leaders. It's incredible, it's inspiring to see these hugely busy people offering a 60-minute mentorship to somebody in the audience to give a whole hour out of their day to help you improve. So we're watching the chats, we're watching who's here. Bring your A game, make sure you're the one to be noticed. We do go through all the questions, we do go through all the attendees after the event, and we will be informing the winner during the course of next week. Can you actually imagine spending a whole hour with Luco? I mean, I know I couldn't. It was an amazing opportunity. Don't miss out on it. Also, watch out for social media. We will be posting the winners on social media. Here's all our handles, Unilever handles too. Rising Star SA on Facebook, hashtag Rising Star 2021. Please also comment any learnings, any notes from the webinar. Another one of my absolute favorite features of the Leadership Conversations is the opportunity it gives us to feature our Rising Stars. I mean, who better to facilitate such a meaningful session about celebrating the next generation of talent than one of our very own Rising Stars. So on this note, Razia, you've walked a long journey with us. I would like to thank Razia Adam, a rising talent in mining, and indeed the winner of the 2017 Rising Star Award in mining and minerals sector. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty. The judges were very impressed at her hands-on approach. And rising up the ranks in Sasol, Razia is a true future leader. In fact, the thing that's impressed me and wowed me and made me so jealous is that she's the deputy chairperson at the BRICS CCI Youth Chapter SA. Thank you for representing South Africa. Thank you for being here today, Razia, and thank you for your time. Moving on to leadership. I mean, it's a challenging job at the best of times, but now things are changing. Things are changing daily. Level 4, here we are. This is when true lessons are learned, true icons are born. Who would have thought the third wave, the level 4, and over an entire year since the very first lockdown? So many lessons have been learned over the past 18 months, but this time I believe we're all a lot better prepared to handle level 4, certainly when it comes to a work from home scenario. But in leadership, wow, can you even imagine what it would be like to have to make immediate decisions that affect the livelihood of so many? So on this note, I'm honored, truly honored, to welcome Luc-Olivier Marquet, a distinguished leader, the CEO and Chairperson of Unilever South Africa. He's here today to give his perspective on leadership and learnings throughout his journey, but also over the last 12 to 18 months. This amazing leader has over 28 years experience, which is older than many of you in the audience, I think, in the FMCG industry. Luca joined Unilever in August 2013. He joined as VP for West Africa, and his focus has always been to deliver consistent, profitable, competitive, and sustainable growth for Unilever. And this means looking at a purpose-led and future-fit business, which I'm sure he will go into during the course of the interview. But he also, it's of incredible importance to him to make sure that Unilever offers superior products and high-quality products, however, whenever, and wherever people shop. So Luca also, when it comes to teamwork, he believes that together, when we work as a team, we can all build a brighter future for South Africa and truly make the concept of sustainable living commonplace. Well, all of that makes it sound so easy, Luca. So on that note, I want to remind everybody, don't miss your chance to ask questions and potentially win the 60-minute mentorship. But on that note, I'd like to pass over to Razia and Luco. Please go ahead with the interview, and please, Luco, tell us your miracles, tell us your journey. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Laura, for such an amazing intro. Good afternoon, everyone. Do excuse my voice. I am struggling with some voice issues, but I believe I will push this voice and make this a lively engagement with Luco. Hello, Luco. How are you, Luco?
I'm very good, Razia. I must say, I probably have a better voice than yours. I'm sorry for that. I hope you will be better soon. I'm actually surprised because we had a chat a couple of weeks ago and already your voice was a bit stumbling. So I can see that you didn't recover yet.
Oh, wow, Luco, a lot can happen in a week. So my voice actually, I struggled with it over the weekend due to dust. So nothing serious, it's just the dust. It affects me very negatively on my voice whenever I'm exposed to it. But welcome, Luco. We are so happy to have you here. Normally, we don't get this opportunity to actually have a conversation with leaders of your caliber and leaders of yourself. And I'm very excited. I'm very honored to actually be chosen by the Rising Star Committee to actually lead this conversation with you. When I went through your CV, I did a lot of Googling. I realized that, oh, wow, who am I to actually interview such an incredible leader in our corporate environment. So thank you so much for entrusting me on this, and I'm looking forward to the engagement.
It's a
Are you ready to roll?
It's a pleasure. Thank you. But please don't get, I'm not an amazing leader. Don't get intimidated. It's a very chill conversation, and a big thank you to Lara and for having me, to Tanya and to yourself. I mean, it's it's something which I cherish a lot, being able to exchange with the future top leaders in the country and or in the continent, by the way. And it's we can only be successful as a company by bringing on board and by being surrounded by top talent and top leaders. So it's a privilege for me to be here and to spend these 1 hour and a half or 2 hours together.
Yes, we're gonna have a good time, Luco. Definitely, we have quite a long time with our audience as well. We'd like to welcome you to post your questions, and let's engage and ask all the right questions and ask all the questions that we always wanted to know in terms of our leaders. How do they do it? Without wasting any time, Luco, I would like to understand. Being a leader is not easy. It's so easy for us to actually judge and think that things are just running smoothly in an organization, in our communities, in our churches, in our countries. We always see leaders as the people that's supposed to show us the way. And I know that you've had a journey that you've traveled for you to get to where you are today. Would you kindly please tell us about your journey and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, first of all, let me start, and I appreciate very much your kind words, and just to say, being a leader is a privilege. So, yeah, we can see it from the angle, it's tough and so on, but it's an absolute privilege that is given to me. And so, yeah, let me tell you a bit about my journey, which first, let's say that, like that, everybody's going to be at ease. I've never been a very academic person, and always been fighting with my parents and so on, and so I'm not the guy who's gonna come with from Harvard or from all the top university, not even CTU. I would have loved to be in South Africa at that time and to be able to study at the University of Cape Town or Stellenbosch, whatever. But no, I didn't do that, and basically, so I'm born and bred in Paris. I lived in France, in Paris until I was probably 20 years old. I took my first plane in my life when I was 17 years old. and since then I probably live in a plane or I've been traveling all around the globe. I did an internship in a bank in Singapore when I was maybe 20 years old, and then I moved to Mexico, where I started working for a beauty company called L'Oréal, and which is the #1 beauty company in the world, which is a company where for all French people, people tend to admire, or French students admire that company, and is the #1 company where you want to work for. And I'm glad actually that Unilever in South Africa and probably in the UK is the company where everybody will dream to work for. So a bit the same thing for France. And I joined L'Oréal and I worked 4 years in Mexico. Basically I worked a bit in sales and in marketing. I then joined back Unilever in France, where I worked France and Europe for 5 years before getting expatriated and moving to Puerto Rico. I lived 1.5 years in Puerto Rico, then 1 year in Miami, then 4 years in Puerto Rico. So I moved in 2003 in Puerto Rico for the second time, and that was the first time that I got a true complete general management role, where I was the country head for Puerto Rico and the Caribbean markets for the L'Oréal Group, with all the divisions which does exist, from the luxury, from the consumer goods, from pharmaceutical or drug channel, so on and so forth, and hairdresser, which is mainly a B2B2C business. And then in 2007, I moved in the Philippines, and I've been country head as the head of the L'Oréal Group in the Philippines before joining Unilever in 2013. And I got approached by Unilever, and it's a company that from outside I always admired from the brand, but as well for the values that it vehiculed, and the purpose of the brands and purpose of the individual which form the Unilever company. And I joined as the head of the West Africa region. I was based in Ghana and handling the 13 countries west of Nigeria. And I took over as the head of the South African business in 2007. So it's been 4.5 years now that I've been in South Africa. And I'm the proud father of 2 kids. My son Adrian is 18 years old. My daughter Chiara, she's 16. And although they have French parents, I'm divorced since then, but my kids are French, but they never lived in France. So, it's a complete different approach. And my son is born in Miami. My daughter, she's born in Puerto Rico. They already lived in 6 or 7 different countries. And they take the plane like some others will take the subway or the bus or the taxi. And it's a complete different mindset. And I'm learning constantly from them. So, I'm discovering, or I discover the world of TikTok thanks to my son, who is very active on TikToks. And I must say that I'm a proud father of a son who posted a video which did 29 million views on TikTok.
Wow.
Quite crazy.
Wow. It's not easy.
I learn a lot from my kids and from the employees. Yeah.
Wow.
So that has been a bit my journey, and talking about leadership is the opportunity, the great opportunity that I had in working in a complete different environment, different culture, and that was very exciting in my role. Is the fact that not only you work for other different companies, but very proudly so today, and I found my sweet spot in Unilever, but working with a complete different people, different culture. So on top of your job, which can change, you learn a new culture, you learn a new approach, and you learn new leadership skills. Because I've always said it's not for the employees to get used to my leadership style; it's for me to get used to the style of the local people, understanding the history, understanding the culture, and behaving differently. And you manage completely on a different way. People that you do in the US or Puerto Rico than you're going to do in the Philippines, or you're going to do in South Africa, or even between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire is going to be completely different. So very, very, very exciting journey on that aspect. And everywhere I go, I learn a lot, and every day.
Wow. Luco, as I listen to you, I'm actually realizing that you actually traveled a lot around the world in terms of your career, and you were exposed to different areas of the business value chain as well. Maybe if you can touch on the key areas that you actually enjoyed in your career that put you in a better position as well to be promoted or to be called by Unilever to become the Southern Africa CEO for Unilever.
Well, yeah, obviously it's as the CEO of the company, you need to be relevant in every meeting. And so my journey is almost every hour or every 2 hours, I have a different meeting with a complete different topics. And you need to be, you cannot pretend that you are the best at every topic, not at all. And you learn along the way. But it's true that when you're going to talk to people about on the supply chain side, no matter if it's logistics or if it's manufacturing, you need to know a bit your topic. When you talked about formulation of product, no matter if it's in food, in home care, or in beauty and personal care, and you talk to the R&D people, you need to understand a bit what is behind the formulation, what is the molecules, what are the patents that you have. So, and obviously when I started, in marketing first that's a passion that I have. It's really, and everything needs to start from the consumer. And so you need to immerse yourself with the consumer, to listen to the consumer, to listen to the needs, and then that's how you try to develop product formulation, fragrances that can deliver superior products at an affordable price for what they need. And that is very one of the aspects which is extremely interesting in South Africa, with the diversity of the population from ethnicity, from a race, from different economical backgrounds, that we need to serve every citizen of South Africa. And for that, you need to adapt your products, your formulation, your brands based on that needs. And obviously, all that, it's your first responsibility as a CEO is to manage a P&L as well. So you have to immerse yourself in the background of or a bit in the finance, fully understanding what's the game in the P&L, where are the different levers where you need to play on that, and obviously, in sales, and obviously interacting with top retailers is going to be completely different, no matter if you do it in the US, if you do it in France, for example, or you do it in South Africa, or when in the Philippines. But obviously, I'm privileged and honored to interact with the various CEOs of the ShopRite, of the Pick and Pay, of Boxers, or the cash and carries, and obviously you need to be able to engage with them, and my role is not to negotiate with them. Is always, how do we build a partnership? But I think for me, one of the key lessons of that is and probably my first tip of the day is as a leader is you need to make sure that you surround yourself by people who are much better than you, and who are true experts in their field. And Unilever in South Africa, we've been fortunate to be very successful in the last 4 years, and it's really because I'm privileged to be surrounded by a leadership team which is really, really strong. And everyone, no matter if we talked about people, human resources, or sales, or finance, or logistics, supply chain, manufacturing, R&D, and so on, is really people who are absolutely expert in their field. And I can have many, many years of experience. I've been now, it's like, almost 30 years working in the FMCG industry. So I can have the experience, but I need to listen to to my leadership team, and they are fully empowered. I can give my point of view, but at the end of the day, they are the one making the decision.
That's so true, Luco. You touched on something very important, which our audience is also agreeing on, that you need to surround yourself with people who know better than you, because the way is shown by those who are ahead of you. And as leaders, that is very important for us to actually learn as the future leaders, that look at who you spend most of your time with, because then if you want to reach a certain level in your life and you are not spending time with those people who are ahead of you in that level, then you are working more towards sabotaging yourself.
If I can add on that, I think it's so critical because, and if I mention it, is I saw that over the years where, younger rising top talent tend to believe that, they don't want to recruit or to be surrounded by people who are better than them because they think that they're going to take their spot. But when you work for a big company like that, it's a teamwork. It's like I don't know, a football team or whatever. It's really a teamwork and individuality. By the way, I'm French, and for the ones who are the soccer fan here, look at what the French soccer team performance last night in the Euro Cup. I think on paper, we have the best team in the world. We have the most talented team, and we've lost against Switzerland. And because you can have great individual, but if they don't know how to play together, and I think from a tactic, strategic point of view, they didn't play together, and they were lost on the field. And it's exactly the same thing a bit, in these sorts of company. Don't be shy, or don't think that somebody's going to take your spot and you're going to be fired because he's better than you. Surround yourself. At the end of the day, the success of my team will be my success, because it's how we're going to succeed in delivering a great set of results for Unilever in South Africa.
Yes, and Luco, this topic is very interesting. And another thing, when you do that, I believe when you do that, you also allow yourself an opportunity to grow. If you are sharing and not being intimidated by your own teammates, and you actually succession planning indirectly or directly, you open up an opportunity for you to also grow to your next dream job, because now you're not attached to this information that you are seen as the experts in alone in your organization. Luco, can I ask you a question with regards to what do you believe? It's question of the question. We really want to use this opportunity to get the best out of you. Luca, what do you believe is great leadership attributes, especially looking at the current pandemic in the world and how leaders are leading? What do you believe is the recipe that you have been using in your organization to actually lead, and attributes that you can give us and the audience to actually take forth with us when we become leaders and we are faced with such a challenge like the current one, which is the pandemic?
Well, clearly that pandemic have changed completely the world forever, and have changed the working environment forever. That's where we saw some rising top leaders and rising companies, where when all that pandemic started, you clearly need to define what are the absolute priorities for the company. And at Unilever, we define the first thing was the health of our employees. That's the absolute utmost priority, where we needed to act and to do everything we could to protect the health of our employees. And so, for example, we shut down the offices and the office in both the one we have in Joburg and in Durban, way before, or a week or 2 weeks before, on March 17 last year, before the strict lockdown that we had. And really making sure that our employees could be safe, helping the community as much as we could, It's very important because we are part of that ecosystem, and it's very critical. And protecting the cash of the company, because many companies in this time, it's very difficult to project what's going to happen on the market, and you can survive only if you protect the cash. And when I talked about protecting the employees, is Unilever in South Africa, we employ roughly 3,000. We have direct 3,000 employees. But indirectly, people who are working 100% of the time for Unilever in South Africa is roughly 10,000 people. And we needed to make sure that we support not only the employees, but the entire ecosystem which is working for Unilever. And for example, if I take a company, Sebo company or Smollen, we have lots of employees who are working in the canteen or in the field and so on. We support them as well financially. Even some employees, companies who haven't been working anymore because the offices were closed, we were continuously paying salaries for them to make sure that they can be a bread provider for their household. So how do you forget a bit, is the time where you pause on the P&L and what will be the bottom line of the company, and you really think about for the broader community. What has changed, honestly, it's now and over the time is not only is how do we protect the health of the employees, but the well-being as well. And clearly, that's what we saw is the mental well-being. It's something which has been particularly tough, and where all employees have been really very, very affected by that. It was not easy, suddenly from one day to the other, everybody had to work from home. The school were closed. You are not used to have, to be all day long with your partner, to be all day long with your kids at home, and you had to juggle between your work, between, cooking, between taking care of the kids and so on. So very quickly, we pivoted and we said, okay, we blocked in all the calendars for all the employees a slot from 12 to 1 p.m. to make sure that they have time to pause, no meeting, no calls, and they can dedicate some time for the kids to go shopping, to prepare the meal, and so on and so forth. When the strict lockdown were released, and basically the school resumed, but basically we decided that the offices will remain closed and we will continue to work from home. We decided and have asked that no meeting will start before 8:30 to make sure that we leave the time for the employees to bring their kids at school and to come back and work from home. That's the sorts of behaviors and what the leaders, and it's not only myself, but it's the leadership team took as a sort of a decision. We had before, but we really accelerated the ACAS system, which is we are providing sorts of mental well-being support and services, either psychologists, mental support for the employees, where they have a hotline where they can reach out of specialized people to support them from a mental well-being point of view. And honestly, the feedback was, I remember, because one thing we changed, it's as soon as we went in the working from home, the strict lockdown, we implemented for the leadership team a weekly meeting, or initially was every day, and then we did it weekly, but a stand-up meeting for 30 minutes where we go around. And quite quickly in a stand-up meeting, I said, we normally start with human resources, talking about people, then sales and so on. And I said, no, let's pause there, and I want to go around and let's chat amongst ourselves. How are we? How are we coping with the situation? And that was like a bit more than a year ago. And I started with myself and expressing, my vulnerability on the fact that, being single in South Africa, I'm extremely fortunate to live in a great environment. I'm spoiled, but I have my kids living in Canada so far away. And I realized that because I did my shopping before, and that I didn't see the face of one human being for more than 3 weeks. And for 3 weeks in a row, I didn't see the face of one human being except on a screen. And I was becoming crazy. I mean, crazy. I was really, really battling. And I remember that I said, okay, let me go to a shop on a Sunday late afternoon to make sure there was not so many people, just at least to see one human being. And I was really battling. And I went around, and honestly, there was some member of my leadership team where they cried. They cried because it was tough for them as well. And we are extremely spoiled and fortunate. Much better environment than so many of our employees. And I have employees who are, single, working in a one-room apartment, and so many people there. And it's been very, very difficult. So since then, we reopened the offices with the 17th of March. We took the anniversary of 1 year. We reopened the office, but only for 10% of the staff. And employees have been, and I went to the office and so on. Unfortunately, we decided 2 weeks ago that we needed to close again in view of the third wave, because again, the protecting our employees is really so critical, and you don't know of the employees if they are commuting to come and what happened, and if we have a break. And we had, I can share because it was in the news, that in one of our factories in Johannesburg during the first wave and the first lockdown, we had an outbreak in one of our factories where 32 people got COVID, and thankfully nobody died from it at that time. Unfortunately, we've lost some employees after, but very sadly. But it's dramatic, and again, we need to protect the employees. But again, I mentioned that because I put even more emphasis now on the health, but the mental well-being, because I think that's where the employees needs the biggest support from now.
That is so important what you touched on, Luco, because this has been very bad in the world, not just in South Africa. And that we've seen on social media a lot of people going through depression, especially the young people looking for jobs. Hope is gone. Those who are losing jobs, our socio-economic issue has just become worse from what it was. So by you taking the lead to say, I want to understand how are you mentally, emotionally, before you start doing what we are expected to do and what we woke up for, which is the job. But I want to understand, where are you? It speaks to the 3 Ps: people, planet, profits. So you've emphasized a lot on people. And I love that, because that should be what we nurture first, because without your people, you cannot do anything further at your organization. So look out for a lot of CVs and a lot of job applications at Unilever. It seems like everyone loves the 8:30, no meetings before 8:30, and the blockouts of the calendar from 12 to 1. I'm worried that your HR will be very busy, Luco.
Very happy
busy. That is a beautiful environment. It shows that it's a home, because we spend most of our time, 80% of our time, with our employers, whether we are sitting at home, you are on your computer working. So if you know that your employer cares for you, you can go over and above and work till 9 at night without even realizing, because you are being taken care of emotionally and financially as well. I know I've been with so many mentors. I'm a very big believer of mentorship. And I always tell people that in order for you to be able to succeed as a person, you need to have someone to sound check whatever you are doing, who will always take you through your plans. I have this spreadsheet, 10-year career plan I've been carrying with me since I was a graduate as a geologist. I've stuck to that. Every employer I go to, I carry my 10-year career plan spreadsheets. I show them and say, this is my plan. Does this organization accommodate me? Who has mentored you in your career in terms of, did you have multiple mentors? Do you believe in mentorship? And what would you tell us about the importance of having a mentor?
Well, yeah, it's a very good question, and first, I do believe in mentorship. I think it's very important, especially when it can be two levels of mentorship, but when you come in a very big multinational, very big organization like Unilever, and you come from a different environment, is how do you learn how to navigate into that company? How do you create your network in that company? I think networking is very critical. How's going to inspire you in the organization on the different aspects. But I don't necessarily believe in one mentor, and I believe a lot in inspiration. And honestly, I'm not shy of saying that I've been extremely inspired from a leadership team point of view by the CEO of Unilever, Alan Johnson, which I think from leading with compassion, leading with heart, leading with authenticity, is somebody just a bit. I'm just going to give one example. It's like every other week we have worldwide sorts of connect with Alan Job, or sorts of a town hall where people can ask whatever question in a pigeonhole. And it's like at some point he got disrupted with, I think his wife was bringing a tea, and he said, that's my wife bringing me a tea. Come Rosie, say hello to everyone, and so on. But we need to be very authentic, and I think for me it's very fundamental that authentic leadership and leadership with compassion. Had some amazing mentor, or been very impressed at some point with some amazing marketeer who have a brain which think with a level of sense of detail, understanding consumers better, understanding the trend better than others. There's been some leaders in finance who have been very impressed. So it's a combination of many different mentors. And I must say, it's I still have some mentors, and one of the new dimension of this world, and not the pandemic one, but the reality we live in, is I have many very young mentors, millennials, or even Z generation, who are my mentor, and who keep me on my toes and allow me to keep my eyes open on the new technology, on the new startup companies, what is happening. So that's what I call the reverse mentoring, and have some reverse mentor in the organization in South Africa, some in London, as well as some outside, and I think it's so critical in the days we live in that. I'm very young. I'm 52 years old. But if you don't learn every day, every week, you become irrelevant in your job. And the way you do marketing, the day you do sales, today has nothing to do when I was a marketeer 28 years ago. It's completely different. And obviously the platform of communication have completely changed. When I start working, we were sharing one computer amongst 4 employees. That's the reality. The PowerPoint system didn't exist. So I don't want to sound as an old dog, because it's not that long ago. But that's the reality we live in. And I think, it's we have in Unilever an amazing platform called The Grid, where we anyone can come and learn in that platform. And to give one example of how I position the importance of learning is I made sure that in the calendars as well of every employee, you're going to tell me I tend to be a freak control because I'm blocking the calendars of everyone. But every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m., the calendars of all the employees of the company is blocked for what we call Luco's Learning Hour. Sorry, because it's my name, but it's HR told me that it was more impactful if it was under my name. But basically, it's 1 hour where we run some masterclass, where it can be internal, external, individual come and talk to the employees and teach them about complete different topics, or is the employees to make sure that they don't have any meeting at that hour, and spend the time to go in the grid and to learn, to make sure that we constantly learn and relearn, and to be future fit. Because again, the job that the marketeer had even 3 years ago is completely different. The access to data that we have and access to consumer data is completely different, and we are so rich from a consumer data point of view that we need the marketeers need to be much more much more analytical in some ways, and we have a program called Get on the Front Line, which is to make sure that we reconnect with the consumer, with our citizens, to make sure that we again understand what do they need under such, or even for us to create their needs under these current environment.
And I'm not surprised you're such a great leader from learning from Alan Job. He is an amazing leader. So you learning from him goes to show that you need to learn from the best to be the best as well. I like the masterclass, Luco. You're gonna make me be very envious now. I was trying to hold my envy of your organization, but imagine going and learning in a masterclass at work, blocking my calendar from the CEO's office. They are blessed. They are blessed. And
I'm going to find a way to give you a link and to
enjoy.
By the way, I'm going to invite you, and Lisa, who is on the call. We're going to make sure we invite you to be, and Laura as well, to be one of our guests one day as a masterclass. And we have a learn from all of you. So you are very welcome to join us on a Thursday.
Definitely, I welcome the invite. I'm sure Laura will also be excited. I would love to be part of it and to learn and also impart some of my knowledge to your team. Luco, so now
I can see that Sasol said as well that he would like to be invited. So that's going to start to be a problem.
I'm sure my colleagues are worried now. What is Razia saying? Is she trying to leave us now? No, colleagues, relax. I'm still okay. But you never know. You never know. Look, you actually talked about reverse mentorship. It is so important. I can conquer there because, with millennials, I'm also in between millennials and the Z generation. There are certain things that frustrate me as well. I don't like Excel sheets. Why must we use Excel sheets? We've got innovative digital platforms. We've got CRMs. We've got Power BI. We've got SharePoint Online. We've got so many systems. Why are we sending presentations on email and Excel? And now as a millennial, I quickly digitize that thing and I send a link and say, everyone generate this live. And it's sort of like me mentoring the wiser generation ahead of me, because now without me doing that, I'm going to frustrate them if I'm against the Excel sheets. So reverse mentorship can be even at work, where you learn from the younger people and you allow them to bring these ideas in. I like your open mindset. I like your being so authentic as a leader and saying that it's two-way in mentorship. It doesn't have to be you mentoring the younger person. What book are you reading, Luco?
What book? Or it varies. So it can be completely different one, but from a leadership from a leadership point of view, there has been quite a few. The most recent one is Good to Great from Jim Collins. I don't know if you read it, but I think it's a very interesting one because it shows, and from a leadership point of view, but as well from a company performance, how this company were considered as a really good company. They didn't overperform, and many of them doesn't exist anymore, and that pursuit for greatness. And so don't content yourself with being good, but aim for the greatness. And it was looking at it from a P&L financial performance, as well as a consumer, as well as and that's what we really pretend to achieve as well. It's not to be a good company, but really to be a great company, and certainly that's why a sense of purpose is so much embedded. Another book that I can recommend, that for me I read it, that was many years ago, but The Art of War. It's a book from Sun Tzu, which guided me a lot, because it's a very interesting book from a tactics point of view, from a strategy point of view, applied to some military actions. But it's a very interesting one, which can guide you a bit in your life, in your professional life. It's a very interesting one. The True North as well from Bill George has been a good book to read. Or when you move into a big company, the first 100 days, the first 90 days, from Michael Watkins is a good advice as well to read. So there is different one, but it's I'm not the sort of guy who gonna be 24 hours a day or 20 hours a day thinking about work. I need some different books, or I need a good series on Netflix. It's on Amazon. It's certainly something that I enjoy doing, and being very active, doing sports. I love outdoors, and that's why I'm privileged in South Africa with that absolute beautiful country. It's so many things to do. So you need to have that proper balance. But yeah, I think again, Good to Great is a really a very good book.
I actually love that book as well. It teaches you a lot as a leader. Book, I can also agree that it's a book that we should all read as young aspiring leaders. And I know you've gone through a lot of challenges in your career, maybe challenges that you thought you'd never come out of. There's a lot of CEOs that we've seen, good CEOs, really face big challenges. What would be the biggest challenge that you would share with us today? And how did you actually come out of that challenge in terms of the learnings you got out of there as well, the mistakes? You don't need to go very deep, but just to share something that we can relate to, that yes, indeed, there is a way out, no matter how big the challenge is as a leader.
Well, let me give maybe two examples, and sometimes it happened in you as a leader when things got out of control, and if sometimes when you get into a position where you're getting tired and you don't put so much focus or attention to certain things, and it gets out of control. And I remember it's in my previous company and a different country, where basically some salespeople, just to achieve a certain target, started to do crazy things and loading the trays of product and so on. and I think it's you create it's not a fake sales, but basically your distributors end up with too high inventory, and then you pay it afterwards. So the two key learnings is for me, first is that unfortunately sometimes I'm paid to make some tough call on people, and when
Hi, Luco. I think you on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute. Still on mute. Laura, is it?
I would suggest that maybe if you can just exit the link and come back in again, that might refresh the sound.
Okay, no, I'm unmuted. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. There was some flash here, so I don't know where you lost me. It's when I said I have a 18 years old son.
Being tough on people.
Okay. Yeah, it's when I was saying that's it's part of, unfortunately, my job, and where it's but you have, it's not being tough on people, is when you need to take the tough call that people who are don't doing the proper behaviors for the business and for the long term of the business. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to get rid of some people, and you have to make that tough call. And I think it's part of the leadership, and for that is make the call quickly. Don't wait for too long, because don't wait until the situation becomes really out of control. And what I learned from that experience as well is the fact that I'm now obsessed by judging or evaluating the performance of a team, of an individual, of a team over a performance of kind of 2, 3, 4 years in a row. And because sometimes people are desperate to showcase how good they are, and they are doing things with a very short-term minded. And if you want this company to be sustainable, to perform, and to do good for the communities with a sense of purpose, it's a long journey. And when you have an innovation cannot perform just for 6 months and that's it. It has to perform year after year. And so really evaluating over a longer period of time, it's important. The second one that I can share, second example, where it's been very tough, and I'm not scared of sharing that here in that forum, but clearly last year, obviously the Black Lives Matter, when George Floyd got assassinated in the US, the spillover that it came in South Africa, and the challenge that we receive, and rightly so, from the employees in terms of the diversity and inclusion, and from the diversity of the team that we needed to drive. We were already much better than many other companies, but it was like an eye-opener and a ring bell that we need to be much more drastic from a diversity point of view in Unilever in South Africa, and we did some very, very bold commitment to really transform even faster the company, and I think on where I've been personally affected in a way is with these très aimé crises that we had, and I'm sure you are aware of these très aimé crises, because it was a very unacceptable, unfortunate event with 2 images which have been in a website for a year and a half, which was not picked up. And I'm going to be blunt. We screwed it up. And it didn't portray at all the values of the brands and the value of the company. And which was wrong execution, which created such an issue. And it's the company is so much absolutely but fighting every day against any sorts of discrimination. We got it wrong, and so yeah, it went really bad. And in that sort of case, you what can you say? You only can really be very apologetic, change that, and act, and some learning. And I'm happy to share. Since then we put in place, for example, a diversity and inclusion advisory board, which is a board with external people and internal people who are reviewing any single assets that we are putting in place in the stores, in social media, in TV, in print, to reviewing that there is not even one single type of discrimination, and doesn't portray any sorts of inferiority or whatever. And by the way, since then, because it was normal hair and dry dull hair and so on. Since then, it created an action in the Unilever worldwide, where we removed the name normal from any brand shampoo in the world. So not only in South Africa. And when I called the CEO of the company, when I called Alain at that time explaining what was happening, and I said, but it's normal, Alain. As soon as you say normal hair, it means that the other ones are not normal. And we need to change. And we've done the bold commitment of changing it. So it's coming over the time. And by the way, Tresemme didn't even have normal shampoo. For normal the nomenclature normal was not in Tresemme. It was in organics, but not in Tresemme. But we dramatically changed that. And it's a good wake-up call. And Unilever South Africa is part, together with Unilever Brazil, Unilever US, and Unilever UK, of the transformation agenda from a diversity and inclusion part, where we have some regular forum and the commitment that we are doing in terms of transforming the diversity within our team. And I'm very happy to say, it's today is the Unilever leadership team is at 65% or 62 or 65%. Colored South African. So I'm very, very proud of that transformation that we did.
Yeah, it was quite a controversial one. And
I know that is not enough, and we will continue that journey.
Yes, thank you for touching on that one, Luc, because there was a question based on that, and I'm happy that you've responded to that, because it was quite a controversial one in the country. And I was actually satisfied with how you'll actually addressed that situation. In closing, Luc, so we can actually take more questions from our audience in the chat group. What words can you give our future leaders in the audience today before we take on their questions?
Sorry, I couldn't. Sorry, Razia, I missed it.
Okay, what words of advice can you give our future leaders in the audience today in closing?
There is one component which or characteristic which guided me and made who am I today is we all need to build a level of resilience. You cannot, the life expectancy is getting longer and longer, and the work journey is going to be longer and longer. You need to work for soon 40, 50 years. And it's tough. It's not always easy. You're not going to always have some purely successes. You're going to have some tough chapters and so on. And determine the good, strong leaders is the ones who's going to have built a strong sense of resilience. That's number one. That's number two is being curious and raising that sense of constant curiosity. For me, it's critical. Because the world around us is changing so dramatically, so quickly, and it will change much faster than it's changing today. And without that sense of curiosity, the ones who believe that they know everything and it's good for the rest of their life, they're completely wrong. And so open your mind to new technology, to new trend. Stop raising your child by saying, you know what, you have to, I've been raised that way and you're going to be raised exactly the same way. I raised my kids, complete different way than my parents raised me because the world is different and what is important is to open their brains. I remember when, and that was in 2007. So imagine 13 years ago, 14 years ago, I remember the principal of the school where my kids were at International School of Manila, who was telling me, the biggest challenge that we have today is to prepare your kids for a job which doesn't exist today. To prepare your kids for a job which doesn't exist today. And it's exactly the same thing, is how do you, all the leaders in the audience, how do you future-proof yourself, not only for the next 5 years, but for the next 20, 30 years, because you're going to be leaders for the next 30 years. How do you future-proof yourself? How you make sure that you're constantly going to be relevant? And no matter if you are setting up your own company, how you make sure that your current business will be relevant in 20 years from now? If you work multinational, how you make sure that you are relevant in that company in 20 years from now? And that is constantly being curious, being and learning, unlearning and relearning. I think, me personally, I think leading with authenticity is very critical. It's something where I believe a lot, where when you lead a big team, if you want them to follow you, lead with authenticity, lead with compassion, because it's in the tough time where you see the great leaders, but it's the tough time that you can see the great team. And I can tell you, in this pandemic and COVID time, I realized more than ever before how fortunate I was to have an amazing team who has been so resilient, where we've been pivoting so many innovations to change and to make it more relevant in the context where we were from a health, sanitation, hygiene point of view, or different food, or because we couldn't get raw material, pack material, we had to switch some formulation and so on. And my team has been doing an amazing job and has been extremely resilient. And it's in the tough time that you see that. And if you don't build these muscles of resilience, you're not going to be ready for the future, and you're not going to be ready for these very volatile and what we call VUCA environment.
Luco, I'm so saddened that the time is just running out. It's moving so fast. When you're learning a lot from someone and you are enjoying the conversation, it feels like you can just hold the clock. So key takes from me: lead with authenticity, compassion, and also care about your people, because your people are your key assets. Without wasting any more time.
In the tough time, when you need to ask for more, because we need to deliver more in these times, that's when you know that they're going to follow you. If you've been a very tough leader, not being compassionate, didn't care about their health and so on, you're going to ask for more and nobody's going to follow you. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so important what you said. People will follow you based on the person you are and your empathy and compassion and how you treat them as well. You don't even need to force things if you're the greatest leader and you are there for them as well. I would like, Luco, thank you so much. With my squeaky voice as it is, you've done excellent in hearing my questions and the conversation.
You did great. Thank you.
Thank you, Luco. You've been amazing today. And we would also like to give our audience an opportunity for their questions to be asked. So I would like to hand over to Laura to actually take us through the rest of the session. My job is done for the day. Absolutely enjoyed this session, and look out for a lot of CVs in your inbox with HR, Luco. Thank you. Laura, over to you.
Thank you so much, Razia. And there's no better example of asking for more than Razia with her losing her voice, struggling through the entire interview. So thank you so much, Razia. That is why you are a rising star. Onto this, Luco, I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on the chat. It's incredible. People don't want it to end. People say there's so many learning lessons here. And many of the questions, which demonstrates a synergy, I think, many of the questions have actually been answered during the conversation. But let's move. Firstly, they really, really like your background. Normally, we interview CEOs with books behind them, but I think you're demonstrating your Frenchness with all your spices and your cooking, so they know that.
Let me be authentic, and I must share that. I'm in transit in Paris because I'm about to take some leave with my daughter coming from Canada, and so I'm like. In an environment in the house of some friends, and I'm traveling tomorrow with my daughter. I haven't seen her for a year, and since a year now. So, with my daughter and my son. So I'm privileged to be able to take a few days off, and that's really going to be cool. So that's why my background is like that. But I don't like neither to portray the image of the very intellectual and academic person with 2,000 books behind me now.
Yeah, normally the audience, if they see books behind you, they start asking you about them. So you better be careful when you do that.
Exactly. You need to make sure that you read them, all of them.
Right. I think one of the key questions that's coming through is, they're loving this, but they want to know themselves. They want to know what traits, and you have covered this really, looking at resilience and curiousness, etc. But what traits in a future leader should they focus on, should they use to try and make themselves progress through the corporate ladder?
Again, let's it goes back to the same story of curiosity and I think so. First of all, and if I speak about Unilever, but I hope that we are influencing so many other companies where I think it's important to define your sense of purpose, because I think the big companies, if they want to remain, to still be there in 50 years from now, they need to deliver much more than shareholder values. It needs to be a stakeholder values. And so it's that sense of multi-stakeholder value creation in which you can create some return on investments for shareholders, but as well, create values for the different stakeholders, environment, communities, so on and so forth. And for that, you need to have employees who have a true sense of purpose, a passion for something. And to share, when I joined Unilever, I've been so privileged to go for a week of training in Singapore to work on the definition of my purpose and drafting what really I wanted. So I can share that, and it's a bit blah blah marketing, but it's my purpose is to be a diamond grinder who tune the edge to shape the perfect curve. And I'm passionate about snow skiing. Unfortunately, I cannot do that much in South Africa. But when you are skiing, you need to really have the edge of the ski perfectly tuned, because when you turn like that, you really trust your skis. You can push and make a super turn. And it's basically, if I want to turn around businesses, to accelerate businesses, I need to be that diamond grinder who tune the best talent in the organization to be an absolute gems, and where I fully trust them, they are fully empowered, they can consult me to have my point of view, but they are empowered and they take the decision. And that's how we accelerate businesses. So, but for many people, or in the organization, is that sense of purpose that they can have for helping the community. And we signed some 5 years agreement that we're going to renew again with the Department of Basic Education to provide health and hygiene sorts of education for the grade 1, because we want to reduce absenteeism at school, about what we've been doing in the environment, from a plastic and developing some sunlight dishwash bottle to be 100% post-recycled, consumer recycled plastics, and so on and so forth. So that's what is the passion and the purpose that employees has, which is driving the company and helping us to perform better. So it's that balance of curiosity, that balance of resilience with a great sense of purpose. And if employees have trust on this, have faith, are not shy, that's how they can really thrive. But again, let's remain authentic. And by the way, you are giving me that opportunity. I think it's what is for me even or so important is lead. We talk about authentic leadership, but sorry, I forgot my word. With trust, and sorry, I'm going to go back to that. I lost my
your train of thought.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Leading with consciousness, and I think leading with respect, but with consciousness. I think it's we need that in the world where there is way too much corruption, which is not possible, and is the change in the world with when we're gonna get rid of that. So lead with integrity. Sorry, I'm probably a bit tired, but I was looking for the word integrity. Sorry about that.
Well, Luca, don't be sorry. I lived in Paris also, and I studied a French degree, but there's no way I could conduct this kind of interview in French, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, but my problem is I cannot even speak French anymore, so I can do it in Spanish if you want.
Stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who want to know about how you behave personally in certain situations. How did you mentioned already that for 3 weeks you didn't see a single person and you struggled with that emotionally. How do you deal with pressure, and what do you do you mentioned skiing, but what do you do to release? How do you deal with pressure? What do you do just to exhale?
Exhale, change your mind, do a bit of yoga, and honestly, I love the outdoors. So for me, being in a very strict lockdown where I couldn't go out was very difficult. But it's true that I love surfing, and so when I'm in Durban, or I'm very fortunate to have a small place in San Francisco Bay in the beautiful region of Eastern Cape. So South Africa will definitely be part of my life until for my retirement, where I'm going to spend some time there. But it's a surfing place. I go for a run. I switch my mind with a good Netflix series or listening to music, and without forgetting a nice glass of wine, of a South African wine.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, definitely.
And what recommendation would you have for Netflix for the young people in the audience? What series are you watching?
There is plenty, but I watched recently. I like Formula One, and Unilever will sponsor McLaren. So Drive to Survive was an interesting one. Pablo Escobar, Lucifer, that I'm watching a bit now, although you can. Getting a bit bored, but there is some few ones here.
Awesome. I'm going to pass over to Lisa shortly to talk about your Level Up program. There's a lot of questions in the audience. As Razia mentioned, there's a lot of questions about about CVs, about entries, about jobs, but that's Lisa's. Sorry,
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you just finally. You've commented a lot on advice and strengths and your focuses, but what the audience would like to know is there anything that you've discovered in your journey that's a weakness for you, And how have you worked upon that, and how have you overcome that when you've realized this is something you need to do? Tough one.
We all have weaknesses, First is, one of my weaknesses is to have big difficulties remembering the names. And even more in South Africa, when sometimes you have so many different names and so on. So that's a challenge, and I try to really focus a lot and trying to remember a few times to remember the names of the employee, but it's a bit of a challenge. So I learned the Hosit brew no, but it's and the challenge is I think I could have been in my previous job very, very stressed, and with the years, with the experience, I learned a lot. I'm not stressed anymore, and I learned how to set your limits from a work point of view, because it can be an advice as well for everyone. Everyone tends to see, you are the CEO of that big company, you work 20 hours a day. No, it's you need to have your proper balance. Otherwise, you cannot last for long. If I work 10 to 12 hours a day, but then you put your limit, and after that you switch off. You go with friends, have a drink, do sports, and disconnect your phone and your emails. Not answering to all emails. And I think, Razia was raising a point, and a very valid point, about the Excel. I barely use Excel anymore. When I have a meeting with the CEO of Unilever, with the CEO of Unilever globally, I send a 4-pages document as a pre-read, and most of the meeting, even my team is there, we do a very limited numbers of PowerPoint, and it's all about conversation. It's all about knowing your numbers, knowing your brands, and we avoid that. And I think it's part of the change that we need to create, and to be that change maker. The challenge that I have is, it's sometimes, although it's my job, but it's to prioritize, because in the world we live in, there is so many changes, so many transformation, so many things to do, and so many different employees to deal with, which have different problematic, but is helping them to prioritize, because we cannot do everything. So to have the courage to say, you stop these, you're going to focus on that. So less is more.
Okay.
We should learn to start less, but finish more.
Absolutely. That's amazing. There's lots of comments in the audience. This has taught me to prioritize my professional life, but not to neglect my personal life. I love that Unilever encourages that. That's from Shreska. Sean, it's been hard to balance life here at Wits so far, but this has demonstrated to me I need to find a balance. So they're hearing you, and we're so grateful for your knowledge in this hour and a bit. My key takeaways, going right back to the beginning, this is what I've taken away, I'd like to share with the audience. 1, surround yourself with people that are better than you. Teamwork is critical. Understand that you're part of a larger ecosystem. It's not just you out there alone, but the effect you have has ripples. Luca's learning hour, I love it. And yes, I would be honored to attend as a guest, so thank you so much. But then the leadership skills: compassion, heart, authenticity, resilience, curiousness, learning and relearning, and authenticity yet again. And I think it's been a completely authentic, I want to say hour just because it sounds good, completely authentic hour. Luca, we're honored for your time. Thank you very, very much. And again, thank you for the mentorship that one of these young people is going to be honored to participate in. Lisa, thank you. It's been amazing. And I don't want it to end.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
And I pass to Lisa. She's the Director of Talent at Unilever, I believe. And she's just going to tell you all a few words about what Unilever offers, their Level Up program, and how you can sign up. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. And good afternoon to all of our youth. I'm really glad you got to engage with with Luca, our GM at Unilever. And I'd just like to say that this was a really engaging conversation. I'm so happy to see the number of questions that we had, and it's just been a great hour and a half. I wanted to share with you all that at Unilever, we really drive purpose really hard. And one of our purpose is around level up and youth empowerment. We have a program, it's called Level Up, and it's all about ensuring that we have workplace readiness. And it's about engaging in seminars like this one, attending webinars like this one, where you will really get insight into the world of corporate and your leadership style and your leadership behavior and how you bring that to life. As part of the Level Up program, we also have the Unilever Future Leaders program, and this is all about young talent acceleration. It is our graduate program, and it also stems beyond graduates in terms of Level Up. It's also about getting yourself ready to and stay ready for the world of work. So we are calling to action in the school as well, and I'd like to utilize this platform to do that. You can access your camera on your phone, screen onto the little picture on your right-hand side, and then you will get access to the Level Up platform. You can sign up to Level Up. You will get push notifications from Unilever that will help you then to join our interactive sessions like Luco. We'll be hosting one in the future. And if you want to learn more about this, you can do that. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Lisa. Lots of people are happy to do that. Don't forget the QR codes, guys. It's right there in front of you. You'll miss nothing if you scan your QR code now. It's been fabulous. Thank you all. When it comes to Grad Star, you have 1 day left to enter the Grad Star Awards. So if you haven't done it, make it happen. It's absolutely essential that you don't miss out on the opportunities to be, as you can see, one of the top 100 students. Over and above that, we're bang on time. I would like to thank Luco, the CEO and Chairman of Unilever South Africa, for giving us his time, for giving us his insight, and for giving us his wisdom. Lisa, thank you for supporting us all the way, and thank you for making this happen. And everybody in the audience, wow, you support us all the time. I see lots of familiar names in there. Thank you very much, and have a great day.